So I've been participating in this quick little jam on the weekends. I've only done a few, but I'm pretty happy with just being able to get some quick games out. I think it's interesting to do these little jams that only take a couple hours. This one, I feel like I couldn't come up with something fun to do for it, but I was pretty happy that I was able to explore and use some of the libraries and assets that I've been buying on the asset store. Um, I've been trying to work on trying to get better at doing things with feel. And even though I didn't really get to add that much stuff for feel, basically nothing, because I was following a tutorial that's been outdated now. And anyway, they moved to a new API, and even though the API it's pretty similar, it was slightly different in terms of the way you add the components to your scene or your game objects, I guess. But I am interested in keeping and learning more about how to use that library. I feel like that's one of the ones that I'll continue to use for sure. So it adds a little bit of shake in the camera when you start the game, and the goal is to get to Mars from Earth, which is really hard actually. I added some particle effects as well, which I also purchased. It's not the best one to use for this one. It's actually kind of like the wrong thing. Anyway, the ship goes off screen, and it's interesting. I think um, it's hard to make a compelling game within 3 hours, obviously, but I do enjoy the challenge. I think it pushes me to keep trying and ideas and quickly just going without spending too much time on polish or on watching tutorials and not actually doing anything. And I think polish obviously is really important. So I also want to try to do something where I release more like a real quote unquote game once a month or at least 6 times a year, something along those lines, where I do something really quickly. Because I haven't really released anything in terms of like a more polished thing in a long time, whether it's games or other type of software. I was working on some application as well, and now that I've been getting really into game development. I've been learning more about Unity and some of the intricacies. I feel like there's so much depth, but ChatGPT has been really helpful in getting me to understand some of the components in the overall world of Unity, and also watching some tutorials. Even though I don't follow them 100%, even for this one, like I had to go back and watch how to map input again because I forgot. Even though I did it before for the previous game jam, I just keep forgetting how to do it, which I don't think is a big deal. I think eventually I'll learn those things better, or maybe I'll buy one of those assets, which I shouldn't because, or Rewire, I think it's called, that people really like. I like the idea of having it be able to remap your user's controls really easily, but what I don't like is that I spent like quite a bit of money now on the asset store, and so even though actually I kind of expected to not spend a lot, but also I expected to only use about 10% of the assets I actually buy because I'm thinking of building like a library of assets that are um, useful for me when I want to quickly prototype something or have an idea and just throw it together and be able to see what it's like. Because even though visuals are not that important, I do think that when I was playing around with some of the stuff that I bought, it just makes your idea kind of come alive and you start getting more ideas from that quickly being able to pull something together and see what it's like with the real world, with the real character, with real art. I'm not the best at art, even though I love learning about art and I've been creating art amateurly as an amateur for a long time. I think having something that's more professional looking and complete, like making a whole level by yourself, a whole little world. It's amazing also like the discrepancy between the pricing of some assets and others. I feel like I got really great value and some amazing free stuff as well. It just takes more time to hunt for it and you have to go outside of the unit asset store. And I really like the unit asset store, even though it has a lot of clunkiness to it and the UI is not the best. I like the integration. The thing I don't like is it takes forever to import uh, not just I mean, it's okay if it takes a while to download the asset in the first place, but I think that's just mostly your internet. But when you have to import your assets, I feel like I have quite a few now. Like I have way too many assets, but importing them each one, like when I was doing this little jam, importing an asset could take like a minute or more. And so I do dislike that part. I wish there was a better or maybe like I just don't know. Maybe it's a way to cache them in an uncompressed state. And if you have, like right now, unfortunately, I don't have like that much free space on my hard drive anyway, so it's not something I could do. But if it could store them uncompressed, so I could just basically copy and paste, that would be really great. And the other thing that's happening is my computer has been acting up, and now the the battery seems to disconnect, or not the battery, but the charging of the battery seems to disconnect depending on how I wiggle the cable. And I also bought some really cheap, I'm in Latin America now, and so I bought some cheap cables for replacement because I thought it was going to be the cable because my cable has been fraying out. And no, it actually was more or less, or it's not clear as just the cable because I do think the cable's part of it. It could be the charger itself as well. But when I wiggle it, it also changes whether it's charging. So I think it's both. I think maybe the connector on the laptop is going bad. And I have been thinking of buying a new laptop, but unfortunately, like the markup is really big outside of the United States. And that's one of the things that I guess I miss about the US is the advantage is you have when you're buying PC hardware, especially Mac hardware, and that type of stuff. I think you can get hardware for like less than half the price of other countries if you wait for like the special sales that they do. So maybe I'll go to the US to visit family and also buy some hardware and some other tools that I've been thinking of. Like I want to get a tablet. I'm a little bit afraid of like going out of control and buying too many assets and too many tools. So I have been using the laptop that I have that has an integrated GPU. So far, I mean, it has been a little bit limiting, but then I think back on how old their computers 10 years ago when I was playing around with tools were still like people were making things. And so I think we just gotten kind of, maybe a little bit spoiled with the power we have. And we always want the best when we're developing. So I think I will make an investment in a new computer because I'm thinking of doing the game development stuff for at least the next year, maybe longer, maybe 2 years, and try to get something out there that is good. So I have this month to work on new projects. Maybe do like a weekend project or a little jam for a couple hours to get some breathing room because I have been feeling a little bit like I'm sleeping really late, like till 9 a.m. and then not going outside every single day, I think, or going outside every single day, but for longer, like doing like 20 minutes outside just sitting in the sun, I think would be good at minimum. And but I have been like obsessed over game development and even trying to learn more about the basics in terms of like basic vector math that I've forgotten and the basic physics stuff or AI stuff that I never really learned for, especially not for games. And even though I think there's a lot of assets for that type of stuff, which I also explore, like I'm really fascinated by the Unity asset store. I think it would be a shame if Unity was gone. I learned it a while back, just the basics. I didn't know how to use it that well. I was just like interested in it, so I learned about prefabs and game objects. But now that I'm really kind of trying to dive in and learning about everything it can do, the asset store does fascinate me. I think it's like the things that I maybe dislike about it is no easy way to try out an asset without purchasing it outright. Fortunately, I guess the support maybe is like a tricky situation with the Unity Asset Store because I believe that there's some great assets out there, but some of them might be not working correctly or not what you expected. So I do think if their policy was different, that would be better. But in the end of the day, I expected to only use about 10% of what I buy and have it more as a library of things that I might use. I think it is um, difficult to limit yourself when you want to create so many different things. So I got to remember too that I won't be able to create everything I want, and that's okay. Like this is going to be a cost that I expect to allow me to make, uh, varied games and I'll have to purchase more assets later. So I do gotta budget and realize that eventually I'll have to purchase more assets to fit the game that I'm actually making. So that's kind of it for now. I have been good about more of the exercise side of things and trying to keep mobile every day, though I did miss one day in terms of stretching. I like to stretch every day, and I think that has kept me going a little bit more. I am not at the best weight. I would like to lose like 20 pounds, but I'm not terrible. I just feel like health is such an important part of everything, especially when you're just working on your own all the time, and that can get out of control too. So I'll keep an eye on those things and keep trying to do some updates that are more consistent.